Hello again, everybody. If you're new here, consider subscribing to the channel. There's lots and lots of useful content on the RC-600 and plenty more still to come. Today, we're going to talk about insert effects and how we can send input effects to specific instruments and how we can send track effects to selected tracks. Some of the problems that you might come across is when you turn on an input effect, it might be applied to multiple instruments that you might be playing, or when you turn on your track effects, it might be being applied across to your different tracks. So it's not a difficult process, but something that I've been asked about. So let's cover that today. You can probably see that I've got on my memory 60, my track is called Subscribe. And I've got different track effects there, and I've got different input effects. We'll talk about the input effects first. I've got a dynamic, so that's going to be like a compression. And then I've got guitar to bass, then I've got harmony, then I've got reverb. So let's say I just want my compression being applied to some percussion that I might put on my guitar. So I only want that first effect to apply to my instrument one, let's say will be my guitar. I want my guitar to bass also to be applied to my guitar. I want my harmony to be applied to just my vocal, so that might be mic 1. And let's say I want my reverb just generally to be applied across all of my instruments. I can do that. So let's have a look at that first. What we're going to do is we go to loop, we press it twice, and then that accesses our input effects, and we hit this left hand knob. And then I'm going to go a bit closer. If I just click on my first one, you can see I've got dynamics, I've got live compression, and if I page across to the left, this is where I can turn it on. I can obviously do that with the pedal as well. I can select it to toggle or momentary, so that means if I hold it down on momentary, just so you can see, it will only be on when I hold it down. And if I turn it back to toggle, now you can see where it's going. It's actually being inserted to all of my instruments. So I only want that first one to be applied to instrument 1, let's say. That would be my guitar. If I come out of that, I go to effect B, which is my guitar to bass. I also just want that page left, or just want that going to instrument 1, which is my guitar. Let's say I might have a different guitar that I'm using. We'll send it to instrument 2 then. But for now, let's just keep on instrument 1. Exit out of that. My input effect C is my harmony. I only want that going to my microphone. We're going to say mic 1 in this case. And then come out of that, and then effect D is my reverb, and I want that going across all of my instruments. So now when I come out of here, when I decide to turn on one of my input effects, that compression now is only going to be applied to my guitar when I'm obviously putting my percussion parts down. Guitar to bass will only go to my guitar as well. Harmony, when that's on, it's only going to go to my microphone 1, which is my vocal microphone. And then reverb will go across all of my instruments. So that's how to insert your input effects. Well, let's say you want to send a track effect just to, let's say, track 1. So if I go across here, you can see that I've got a pattern slicer as my very first track effect. Now, I only want that pattern slicer. By the way, I've just changed this pedal to my track effect 1. These are my 4 input effects, A, B, C, and D. So this is track effect A. I only want it being assigned to track 1. So if I just go over here again, it's the same sort of process. I'm going to go loop twice, hit the track button. It's track A, which is my pattern slicer. And if I page left, I can, obviously you can see it at the moment it's insert to all. But obviously this is a track effect. It's not going to go to instruments. So I go across track 1. I only want that pattern slicer being affected to track 1 now. So that means when I turn on my track effect pattern slicer, that will now only be applied to track 1. So that's how to send insert effects to different instruments and how to send track effects to selected tracks. Also a handy tip as well, if you go to loop and go to your, so let's do this on input effect, and go across one page, you can see that I might have, let's say, multiple input effects, and you can see I've got them all turned on, but you might only want one input effect being turned on at one time. So let's switch that down to single. Now you can see I've got my input effect A on. If I hit this one, input effect A goes off, input effect B goes on. and then same, and then same again. So that's just a handy way of selecting one input effect at one time. But you might want multiple effects on, so that means you would just leave it on multi, depending on what your preferences are. There we go again, everybody. So I will sum it up by saying subscribe to the channel. There's some links below if you would wish to support the channel. You can buy me a coffee, etc., etc. And as always, have a great day, and ta-ta!